When I heard its reputation, I was thinking Flash Gordon, like
Me
that
too.
kind of thing again.
Instantly.
Like silly, campy. Arnold is, fighting things with a giant sword and all of this, but they actually don't have him talk very much in this one as much,
and it almost seems on purpose in a way.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. It's both for the character, but it also kind of feels like they knew who they were dealing with
they
Arnold.
knew that they weren't picking an actor. They knew that they were picking a guy because he looked the part.
Right.
Because they wanted a guy who was so cartoonishly muscular that he would fit like the painting of a Conan the Barbarian picture.
Right,
kind of deal,
exactly.
Right? So they chose him more for that than they did for his acting capabilities, and it seems like they kind of rode around that a little bit.
Yeah, they even have a moment where we won't get into it just for plot reasons, but there's a thing that happens where he suffers a loss. And he's very stoic the whole time. And as I was watching it, I was just kind of like, okay, this is just Arnold not being able to cry. but then they have a really pretty smart line that they have the other character do. And he's like, he won't cry, so I'll cry for him. Right? So I'm just like,
he's too manly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that was a nice little smart way to write around the fact that Arnold probably couldn't muster up some tears.
Yeah, and also that they kind of write. I mean, as we get into the actual story here, we'll see that he grows up in slavery and uneducated. So when he talks and he sounds like a moron, like it actually kind of makes sense.
He's pretty much treated like a dog that's just bred for violence and breeding.
Yeah, well, for what this film kind of came from was the fact that I mean, obviously, as all things around this time period did, Star Wars was a smash hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was so massive that everyone was like, "Holy crap, we need like these.
We need fantasy shit.
Yeah, we need fantasy like supernatural blockbusters. This is what people want." I mean, it finally caused them to make the Flash Gordon movie that they did, which was in development for so long before Star Wars, that Star Wars finally made them show them that, hey, maybe we could make this and it could be popular.
Right.
But also, Conan the Barbarian is also another pulp series like Flash Gordon, which inspired Star Wars, and which so it was a pulp series of comics, and also I think they did like shows and stuff like that too. Okay. So he was like a character that people were familiar with. And so that was kind of what set this off, and they got Oliver Stone to write the screenplay, who was a huge name obviously at the time, and Oliver Stone would go on to make tons of pretty massive American films, but from what I understand, at the time, Oliver Stone was on the most cocaine he was ever on, and they gave him this pulp series, and he wrote the screenplay. And his version had like a post-apocalyptic, like mutant Mad Max thing going on.
Oh, okay.
Which when they eventually looked at it, and because they were trying to find filmmakers to do it, I think they tried to get Ridley Scott to do it. Because I could see that his set designer for Alien, because it was a few years after Alien, his set designer for Alien actually did the sets for this movie. Which, if you're wondering why they look amazing,
I was going to say part of why this works so well is the set design. Yeah, so production is amazing. He did the set, so they tried to get Ridley Scott, but then they ended up going with John Milius here for the macho action films that he was doing at the time and that he was writing, and he was writing them with a little bit of character complexity and like a signs that he was like a real deal filmmaker. Yeah, and he came on as long as he could rewrite the screenplay, basically. Oh, okay. And from what I understand, the only thing that made it from Oliver Stone's cut was draft of the screenplay was the crucifixion scene, because he liked the imagery. Of Arnold, this giant muscular man pinned to like this tree with vultures on it. Yeah, it's a great image, and I understand why. And the fact that he kills a vulture with his bare teeth. Yep, that's metal. That's good stuff. Yeah, and also apparently the sort of like origin story of Arnold, the early scenes about his father passing down the fable about steel and his family being murdered and him becoming a slave and his upbringing and in the gladiator pits, and all of this was apparently in Oliver Stone's version, but apparently it wasn't like, it was kind of just, you heard about it, you didn't actually see it. So John Milius was like, I want like a whole 20 minutes on that. That was one of the things I think really solidified the character. Yeah, because then you see him Well, you see everything. I mean, you see his family get slaughtered. He's holding his mother's hand when she's decapitated.
Yeah, by an amazing James Earl Jones. And I don't know if that was so a wig or whatever, but he looks fabulous.
Yeah, he's so good in this. And he's got this like Shakespearean kind of acting that's going on, especially in comparison to everybody else who's doing a little bit more campy shit.
I actually found out that in the casting, they casted James Earl Jones and Max von Sydow, who is the king who sets them on their quest to retrieve his daughter.
Right.
Those two actors are hugely high caliber performers.
Okay, and not surprised.
And they casted Max von Sydow did like art films. And James Earl Jones was already well known at the time, and they casted these guys because they would hope it would inspire the other actors. Because they knew that they were kind of casting Arnold and some of his other people as like non-professionals or people who just weren't Max von Sydow caliber actors.
Yeah.
They wanted them to act
with these guys.
They looked good
and they had some timing.
Yeah, they wanted them to perform scenes with these people, and maybe that, you know, James Earl Jones could get something out of Arnold, which honestly I think he does in the scenes where they confront each other, like that scene where Arnold is discovered in the priest robes when he is finally going after James Earl Jones.